Hello, good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday, April 16th, 2026. I'm Manila Chan. That's Ted Rall. You're tuned in to the Ted Manila Information Show, TMI Show for short, because we bring you too much information. We do it live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So please be sure to hit the like, the follow, the subscribe, and the share button to help our little show continue to grow. A couple bits of breaking news, Ted. I know we got to jump straight into the stories because we have hard outs today because we're going to learn about Ball from you and Scott Stantis today and a professor.
No, that already happened. That already happened.
Wait, that was yesterday?
That just happened now, just about half an hour ago. It was on Deprogram.
Oh, I thought you were doing that on...
We have all the ball dish now. We are fully balled up.
I thought you were doing that with Stantis.
No. We're balled. There's no Stantis today. His mother-in-law died this morning.
My God!
Everybody, please send your best wishes and your prayers to Scott and his family.
So his wife's mom passed away.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it sucks.
Well, yeah. Part of the breaking news I was going to share was another set of deaths here, local to me, is for anyone that paid attention to state or national politics. I think this kind of hit the national stage. The former lieutenant governor, Justin Fairfax, under Ralph Northam, did a murder-suicide in the wee hours this morning of his wife. He lives about 5 miles from me. Yeah.
What?
Murders. He's a young guy. He's in his mid late 40s. He's around my age. He was lieutenant governor under Ralph Northam. Then he ran unsuccessfully for governor and then stepped down because he had sexual misconduct and rape allegations appear.
Oh, it's like that.
Yeah. And that was in 2021. And allegedly, he and his wife were going through a messy divorce, but while living in the same home.
Like War of the Roses.
Yeah. And apparently, a phone call came through from one of the children in the house. Mom and dad shot dead.
Oh, my God.
So that's wild. I mean, he was the lieutenant governor, right? Like Duke University grad, law, a partner at a big firm. 40-something years old, right around my age. I can't believe. So it's local, but he made national headlines when he was running for governor just a few years ago, and then I guess his life just spiraled downhill since then. And also in more rapey news, Ted, besides all the politicians be rapey.
That does seem to be the case, doesn't it?
I mean, including the former lieutenant governor. There were allegations, I don't know if he was actually going to court or going to face any charges on those things, but I mean, at least 2 women had accused Justin Fairfax of rape while they were, at least one was a classmate at Duke. And another lady at a DNC event or something when they were in Boston or something, I don't know, a handful of years ago.
Insane.
As an adult. But this one out of, from down under, Canadian-born.
Pun intended.
Yes, Canadian-born Katy Perry, the girlfriend of former.
And a fan of mine.
Oh. Well, she's
always behaved very well around my cartoons, though. So.
She's also now being accused of getting a little handsy and abusive with another woman.
Yeah, I'm okay. I don't know what to say here.
But this is some Australian actress down there. I don't know, but this woman just filed a police report. Mm-hmm. I don't know what
when did these events are. Yeah, when did these events supposedly transpire?
2010.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What's the word? Blow me. Look, I said the same thing about E. Jean Carroll and Donald Trump. I don't know what happened in that dressing room at Lord and Taylor's, but I'm just going to say, like, no matter what happens, honestly, statute of limitations is an important construct in law, and there ought to be a certain point after which you shouldn't have to be. I mean, if you're trying to defend yourself, whether in civil or in criminal court, you shouldn't have to be held accountable for something that happened so many years ago that it's impossible for you to find any exculpatory evidence. Yeah, you have there's no
witnesses die or forget.
It's impossible.
Whatever. Like,
I mean, even a year is tough, right? Like a year. So when I sued the LA Times, a major part of the case concerned events that had transpired 14 years previous. I mean, and it was literally impossible, even in a city densely populated and with good memories, as Angelenos have, which they really do. I'm not being sarcastic here. There was no fucking way to get, like, the evidence. There were no eyewitnesses. There was nobody. No. As it is, it was good that I had, I don't even know, Manila, if this is really fair or not, but for some reason in our culture, let's just say something happens to me and then I tell you, and then 20 years from now, you are able to say, oh, I remember Ted telling me at the time. Somehow that makes it look more likely that I'm telling the truth than if I just mention it 20 years from now for the first time. I don't know that makes any sense, really. But we do kind of view it that way. Like something about the lie. Like it could have been a lie. It could have been a lie the entire time. Who knows?
Christine Blasey Ford, right? With Brett Kavanaugh.
Right.
100 years later, when they were 13 years old or whatever it was.
But we believe her more because she did say something at the time. And I think the point here is that, like,
I don't believe her.
You don't believe Blasey Ford? No. Oh, I 100% believe her.
No, I have zero, because you know why?
Kavanaugh was a drunken lout.
No, look, I was almost raped when I was 16 years old, and by the grace of God was saved. I remember every fucking moment. I remember every button on my.
She remembered every moment. Yes, she did.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't. She couldn't. No one could corroborate, and I have friends that could corroborate. Friends. Well, all these years later, from 1996.
But she had told her friend, and her friends corroborated that she contemporaneously.
No, they didn't. They didn't corroborate. No, nobody corroborated.
Well, Jean Carroll,
at the time.
Jean Carroll, she did mention it at the time to her friends, right? And
maybe I don't remember Jean Carroll's.
But even so,
her friends corroborated.
Even so,
but none of Blasey Ford's friends would or could corroborate. A lot of people are like, I don't remember that.
I don't know what the statute of limitations should be. I think 7 years is too long. I think
7. This is for Katy Perry. This is 16 years ago.
It's ridiculous. It's absurd.
And they were allegedly at a nightclub, and it wasn't rape. It was. She's alluding to.
It's grabolosity.
Maybe she's alluding to handsy.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, I can't say more because there's an open investigation now.
Yeah. Well, okay. Katy Perry should be free to focus on her relationship with Justin Trudeau and just goodbye.
Just let them be Canadian and just,
Yeah, you guys are all you're both members of the Commonwealth. Cut it out.
Yeah, just go. You guys go back to your Commonwealth and go. I don't know where Katy Perry lives now, but whatever. I think. Remember, Katy did sing the song "I Kissed a Girl."
Yeah, she didn't say she grabbed a girl.
So is that the assault? I don't know how you define sexual assault in Australia, but that's what's going on. Arian Gordy, thank you for the donation. Says, I think I said a few streams ago. What is it with most of our political leaders being fucking weirdo rapists?
It is.
Why do we?
They're not all like that.
People.
Bernie
so
Sanders
tragic for the children and wife. That. Fucking demon. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it goes hand in hand with the personality type that becomes a politician.
In part. in part. I mean, for
a lot of
sure. But also, let me just say this. Manila, you all right? Oh my God.
Saliva.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've done that too. I'm always like, yeah, so much for intelligent design. So I mean, I think it's numbers. You've got like 454 congressmen. That's plus 100 senators. Like what? 554 people. So it's like you're just going to end up with, out of 554 people, mostly dudes, some are going to be rapists. It's just sort of how it is. There's that too. Manila, you are muted.
Remember that you brought up the statistic of how many people are
Murderers? Yeah.
What do you think the statistic is for rapies?
Unfortunately, way too high. I bet 1 out of 4.
I bet higher.
I bet 1 out of 5 guys has raped someone.
Yeah, I would
if you count date rape, especially if you count date rape, like sort of drunken.
I would say and then if you tack on, I don't know how you would even define sexual assault. So if it's like grab ass,
well, that's got. I mean, hell, a lot of women are guilty of grab ass. I've had my ass grabbed. So.
It depends on how you define it.
It used to be nice. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, Governor Cuomo was like chief among them, right?
True.
So he faced no jail time. I don't know.
I agree with you that the personality increase. I think in general, it's like this: 2 parts. First of all, there's just a lot of politicians, so some of them are going to be are going to be like that. But also, it's true what you said. The personality type lends itself, because these are people who they want power, and they kind of,
and that's a lot of what rape is.
They feel like they can take what they want.
A lot of
and
what
in fact
rape
they get off on it.
Isn't the rape isn't about the rape itself. It isn't about the sex itself. It's about the power.
Thing, mostly.
It's power and domination. That's what they get off on. Trust me, I studied this in college. So so that's what's going on around the world. Well, let's get to the news, because I do have to do a hard out. But there's no Stantis today, so I don't know if Robbie, he's not at his seat, but I think Robbie might be doing a stream later. I'm not sure. But okay, let's get to the stories. Okay, let's head over to the UK, Ted, and talk about a little Russophobia. What's a day in our lives without a little Russophobia? So a former Hertfordshire, these British towns, a former Hertfordshire constabulary officer.
Constabulary.
Uh-huh. Is that how they say it?
Mm-hmm.
Has become the first person born in Britain to lose their citizenship due to alleged connections to the Kremlin. And let me break it down.
And they're born in the UK.
White, British, pasty British white dude.
Crumpet eating.
Yes. Born and raised, middle-aged, 45-year-old Mark Bullen. Mm-hmm. Lost his citizenship just out of nowhere. And I'll explain. I'll read the article, but I'll break it down along the way. But spoiler alert: born and raised in the UK, was a cop, had never had any sort of trouble. Mm-hmm. Left his line of work, went to Moscow, decided to change careers 10, 12 years ago or whatever it was. Met and fell in love with a Russian woman. Got married, settled down in the Moscow area, mm-hmm. had 4 kids. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's wrong with that? Right? Mm-hmm. But that's the premise as to why he lost his birthright citizenship there. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood issued the deprivation order to Mark Bullen, 45 years old, back in October. And somehow everybody missed this. Just 1 month into her tenure, stating that revoking his nationality was, quote, conducive to public good. Whoa. The evidence underpinning the decisions remains classified, with the Home Office citing national security concerns. Such measures are typically reserved for individuals accused of terrorism or involved in serious organized crime. Bullen, who spent more than a decade serving with the Hertfordshire police force before relocating to Russia, has publicly denied any wrongdoing and shared the government's letter on social media. So that's why it's all breaking now. Bullen departed from the police force in 2014 and moved to Russia, where he had previously participated in an international police association exchange program that saw him work in the country for a month. Special branch officers had questioned his frequent trips to Russia, asking why he was traveling there. We just established why. He now resides, in St. Petersburg, and is now employed by Zenit St. Petersburg FC, the football club owned by Russian energy giant Gazprom. The company was subjected to UK and US sanctions back in January of 2025 following the war in Ukraine. The former officer then later obtained Russian citizenship in 2024, describing it as fulfilling a lifelong dream. He stated that if he was forced to choose between British and Russian passports, that he would choose the Russian option without a second thought. In November of 24, counterterrorism officers detained Mr. Bullen at Luton Airport after he arrived on a flight from Turkey to visit friends and family in the UK. During 4 hours of questioning under Schedule 3 of the Counterterrorism and Border Security Act of 2019, which covers suspected hostile state activity, officers confiscated his electronic devices and asked about his knowledge of the 2018 Salisbury poisoning, otherwise known as the Skripal poisoning. This sounds an awful lot like what the government did to George Galloway very recently. Very, very recently. He and his wife stripped all their stuff from them, kept them for almost the whole day.
By the way, there's so much to be said if you're a person who might worry about this happening, it's really not that hard to go into, if you have your phone, just, reset it to factory settings before you get on the plane. Then I'm not kidding. Then you pass through customs, and if they want to take your, completely wiped, empty phone, let them have it. And they don't get shit. But if they don't take your phone, no big deal, or you buy a new one. It just reloads up from the cloud as soon as you're back. You're in country. No muss, no fuss. That's seriously the solution here.
Well, this is what they did this to this Mark Bullen guy, exactly as they did to George Galloway, who is a multi-time member of Parliament. If they can do that to George Galloway, of course they'll do that to this guy. And they bothered to question this guy about the Skripal poisonings, Ted. This is nuts. He was subsequently released, though, without arrest.
Well, you don't understand. He had been to Russia, and everyone who's ever been to Russia or who has had sex with a Russian lady is by definition a Russian spy, because all the Russia juice gets into you and takes you over like the Borg. And that's that's science. I mean, hello.
That's how that works. So hot Russian chicks, their vaginas automatically usurp your brain.
Yeah, because they have FSB pussy is what they call it.
That would make for an interesting Bond sex porn. I like it, Ted.
Yep.
So Mullins, he gets released or whatever. And then he was angry about what happened to him. So he went on Twitter.
Understandably.
He went on Twitter and he called the British officers the Stasi. Correct.
And maybe an insult to the Stasi, who might have been more professional. But, that's just me.
He publicly said, it's like East Germany, an undemocratic country. No lawyer, no phone, no water, in an ice cold room.
He's not wrong.
Okay. So, George Galloway said the same thing. He added that he had someone describe such an event to him during his policing career. Oh, he said if someone had described such treatment to him during the time that he was a cop, that he would have said that was illegal. It's probably it is.
He's right. Yeah.
So Mr. Bullen has criticized the secretive nature of the appeals process, stating that he contacted the British embassy to verify the deprivation notice was genuine. He said, quote, "They sent me this document and they said, you can appeal the decision, but the trial will be closed and secret. We won't show you the evidence. You won't know what exactly you're accused of." Okay. He indicated
there's another British man who wrote a book about something similar. We call this man George Orwell. God.
So Mr. Bullen indicated that he would contest the ruling if granted legal aid. So the Metropolitan Police confirmed that a man in his 40s was in fact stopped at the Luton Airport on November 12, 2024, using their counterterrorism powers, Ted. The devices were seized for examination because of counterterrorism. And a Home Office spokesman defended the action, stating that citizenship deprivation is, quote, "a vital tool used to protect the UK from some of the most dangerous people, and such decisions are never made lightly."
That does not, neither of those statements appears to be true. First of all, this guy, I mean, he's not a dangerous person. He is just a guy who happens to have who has ties to Russia. And so what? And also,
he married a Russian chick.
Yeah, he married a Russian chick, and he's gone to Russia. Whoop-de-fucking-do. And and also he's a former police officer. You would think that would count for something with the Brits, but apparently there's no respect for their veteran cop, and it certainly doesn't appear to have been made lightly. Look, it's extremely disturbing that they can strip a man's citizenship. I mean, look, if you think he did something wrong, then charge him with a crime and let it play out in the courts. But you don't have anything on this guy. You're just
arbitrarily stripping, and therein lies the problem.
Not to mention, he's guilty till proven innocent. They took away his citizenship. He would have to go through this arcane Orwellian process to maybe get his citizenship back. I mean, I think maybe the process should precede them taking away his citizenship if they're going to do that. But they shouldn't be able to take away your citizenship. Like, you're British, you're born there. Like, I mean, nothing can remove my French citizenship. Nothing. Like, really? I can kill the president of France. I'm still, the French will arrest me and send me to prison, but I will not lose my French citizenship.
Yeah. This is, I mean, we've talked about it here in the US. Robbie's weighed in on this before about, stripping people of their legal status to be here or their citizenship or whatever. This is a guy that's born and raised in England. Ted, you and I, all three of us were born and raised here on US soil. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine we live in a world where the sheer fact that we worked for the Russians, Ted, at one point.
Yep. And would again if I got the chance.
Yeah.
in a second.
In a hot second. Yeah. Like, best place of employment I've had to date. Like, yeah. I have seriously, as a journalist, speaking strictly as a journalist, best place of employment I've ever had.
Least censorship I've ever had.
Correct. So, it was shocking to discover this story, Ted, because the guy is angry.
Well, I'm sure. Like, not to mention,
I want to go home and visit family.
Not to mention hurt, right? I mean, you're like, oh, I gave part of my life. I gave to defending the public, and this is how they treat me.
Yeah. The Rumble Room. Peter says, whatever happened to the Skripals? Nothing. They survived this fake poisoning. And then the case, I have been following up on this case. And then there was a lady who was I forget her name, Anne something or another. She died because the part of there was a new report about the whole Skripal poisoning that came out very recently, like 2 or 3 months ago. That there was a lady that had on again, off again drug problems that was walking through the park and found that perfume bottle, Ted, on top of the trash can, and she was like, "Ooh, this lovely perfume," and she went, psh, psh, and then she was hit with the Novichok.
Yeah, it does make me wonder what kind of person like takes street trash perfume and decides to wear it. Like
but hold on. The Russian spy is so unprofessional that he fucking leaves the Novichok on top of the trash bin.
Yeah, not inside.
And then the Metro Police or whoever it was or detectives also happen to be walking by, and they're like, "Oh, what is this lady passed out with a bottle of perfume?" How convenient. What a convenient narrative. Oh, Novichok, the Russians poisoned. Oh, the Skripals are poisoned over there on that bench. They're like half dead. This crackhead lady over here is totally dead.
But she smells great.
Novichok smells good. And here's the bottle. We've got it. Fingerprints and all. Russian fingerprints. Because, they have a special kind of fingerprint.
Yeah, it has a little hammer and sickle in it.
Yeah. So I'm obviously being a jerk about the story, but I'm paraphrasing all of it, but that is the story. It's true. That is the story, is that the Metro Police Department just broke the case wide open, Sherlock Holmes style. Here's the culprit. Novichok perfume bottle on top of a trash heap at the park. That's the story. And the Skripals have just scurried off into the, they did their part of crisis acting. They did their part. They're paid off somewhere and probably living in the English countryside somewhere. Nice of them. And then the one crackhead lady who is, a disposable person, right? Like she has a history of drugs and no real life going for her. She's the one person who died.
Right.
So, Ted, that happens quite a bit stateside too. The people that are most disposable, like the guy that wanted to, quote, kidnap Gretchen Whitmer.
Oh, right. Well, it was a group of dudes, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he was the guy that was the lowest IQ I hate saying that. He's like a half-wit guy. He's the only one that's in prison.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous.
He's poor. He lived literally in like a cockroach-filled little room that he rented at the basement of a restaurant that had
I'm sure the prosecutors are very proud of themselves. They did a fantastic job.
The lowest rung of our society, that's who is in trouble for trying to kidnap Governor Whitmer. Mm-hmm. That guy.
That's why she shouldn't be a Democratic nominee.
With a less than 70 IQ. Literally, the lawyers presented that he's not.
Yeah, literally
a few sandwiches short of a picnic.
In Texas, where they execute you just because it's fun. They won't execute a murderer who has an IQ under 70. Texas, where they don't care about human beings, at all.
Where they drown migrants in the Rio Grande.
They're like, but we have, even in Texas, there are limits.
Right. So this poor guy that is the only guy to get hemmed up on the Gretchen Whitmer case is one of those disposable people that are easy and they put a nice bow on whatever the narrative case is supposed to present to the public. That look, these right-wing conspiracy forces are trying to kill democracy in America, these Trumpers, these whatever. And so the same thing with the UK, with the Russians. You tie it up with a nice bow. Oh, the Skripals, like God willing, they lived. Oh, but this poor crackhead lady with no teeth, she died. She has no friends or family. She's poor. Who cares?
Whatevs.
Whatever. She's a disposable human. So if you guys look long and hard enough, you will find a lot of cases that sound like the Whitmer thing, the one person to die from the Skripal thing. There's disposable people everywhere.
That's true.
Like Epstein files. Disposable people.
Epstein
everywhere.
became highly disposable. Yes.
Well, no, he himself became disposable. But I'm saying the people that were roped up into his world, the young women, the girls, those girls were en route to being disposable people because they, usually come from, less than savory backgrounds, poor. Nobody would notice, that they went missing because their mom is a crackhead. Their dad disappeared when they were 3 months old. It's stuff.
Yeah,
like
it's like the guys that Rex Huberman killed, the Gilgo Beach killer.
Exactly.
They were sex workers. No one cares about them.
Right. No one cares about right. People that can go missing and nobody is none the wiser. So if you look hard enough,
there's no angry relatives pestering their congressman or anything like that.
That's right. So anyway, well, let's move on. But that's the story out of the UK. That is a dangerous precedent, Ted. I'm scared that they are America's closest relative, right? The UK. We came from them. We came from them.
And we haven't traveled far from them. I got to say, I'm not really clear on why we had a revolution, really. I know we were upset about paying the lowest taxes in the British Empire.
Fuck you, we don't like
George III was very confused. He was like, but literally, they're the ones who are. It's sort of like when the English left the EU. It was like, but you're getting the best deal, like in the EU. Like, why would you leave of all people? And it's sort of like why George III was like, why are the American colonists leaving? They get the best deal. They pay the lowest taxes in the empire, and we have to pay a shit ton of money to protect them from the Indians and the French. Very strange. I don't really, but yeah, we are much like them. Anyway, we should move on.
Before we move on, I got to answer maybe Blue Funke. Thank you for the donation. You guys, I'm sorry, I'm not well informed on the Russophobe stuff. Do you think the Navalny poisoning was fake? Didn't know the Skripal story. The Navalny poisoning, I'm highly suspicious of that.
It's too. Sketchy. I'm very suspicious. I don't understand why, first of all, Navalny went back to Russia at all. And then, also, why would you poison a guy who's already in, what's the word, a gulag? He's already sent to a work camp in Siberia. He's literally on ice. And
why make him a martyr?
Nah.
And
not to mention, the dude, they could just beat him to death or whatever. I mean, it's like they didn't need to. It's just sort of no. I think it's. So, I mean, it's possible, but I think it's the argument for it.
Highly unlikely.
Russians liking to poison, and they're sending a message to everybody,
right?
Like, this is what will happen to you if you fuck with us. That would be the argument for it. So it's
because
not
it's the Hollywood James Bond narrative. It's easy.
I give Navalny. The idea that the poisoning is real is like 20% possibility. It's possible.
Yes. I would
not
say
likely
20 or less, 20% or less, because you always have to ask yourself this. Maybe the question is, cui bono? Who benefits? Who benefits from Navalny dying? It ain't Vladimir Putin, because now the dude is like for the fringe followers that Navalny had. Very fringe.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking.
He's a martyr now.
Single digits. He's a fucking martyr now. So either way, that doesn't benefit Vladimir Putin. But because America owns Hollywood, we're losing the AI Lego race. However, the AI Lego video race. However, up until
we're also
this point,
even the Chinese are having our lunch with the Persian cat.
See, so up until this point, we owned, Hollywood style narratives about the evil villains and that the world is black and white and it's so easy and Vladimir Putin is all evil, and whoever the U.S. president is always Captain fucking America. But it turns out the world's a lot messier than that, and people are waking up to that. So, yeah, I wouldn't even give the Navalny thing 20%. I would say less than 20, maybe 10 to 15%. He could have been poisoned, but Ted, then you remember his wife won the Oscar, and for a movie about him, whatever, or something.
By the way, I need to do a new Terror Widows cartoon. There's all these merry widows these days, right? There's Navalny's widow, and there's Erica, what's her name? Erica Kirk, who's the merriest of all
Merry
widows.
Widow.
And
you're right.
It's kind of like,
Merry Widow.
why is JD Vance spending so much time at TPUSA? Oh, right. I remember.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of we'll call them the Merry Widows. All right, let's move on.
AI is often framed as a force that will replace jobs, but a closer look suggests that something more subtle and possibly more disruptive is actually already going on. Rather than eliminating entire roles, AI is beginning to redefine what your work looks like, breaking jobs into smaller components and redistributing them between humans and machines. A recent report highlights how companies are increasingly using AI to disassemble traditional roles into individual tasks. Work that used to be handled by a single worker, writing, researching, coding, customer service, is now divided. AI systems take on the portions they can handle efficiently. Human beings do the rest. So there's a new workplace dynamic. Instead of replacing workers, AI reshapes your responsibilities, often leaving you with narrower, more specialized tasks. In many cases, those tasks are less stable, less clearly defined, maybe less valuable over time as technology continues to improve. At the same time, new roles are emerging to support the shift. Workers are being hired to train AI, review AI output, and correct AI mistakes. But those positions are, of course, temporary by definition, contract-based or lower paying than the jobs that they replace. Well, that's true of just about every job in everything.
Yeah, because if your role becomes more narrow, then you're actually going to drive down wages. Like the AI is going to drive down wages.
Yeah, and especially if it's temporary, then like it's not that. Yeah. So anyway, basically it's uncertainty. So, Manila, in a lot of employee labor management disputes of the latter part of the 20th century were not about wages. They were about working hours, and specifically
conditions.
Workers who went on strike because they wanted to have real, reliable hours. Like if I work 4 to 10, Monday through Friday, I want to know that it's always 4 to 10 Monday through Friday, so I can arrange my childcare, so I know what I'm doing, when am I free, when am I not free, instead of like, you I'm sure you've had jobs like this. I have, where you call in, oh, what's my schedule for next week? Oh, I'm on Monday 4 to 10, Tuesday, I'm off Wednesday. So like, that's kind of like what the uncertainty is also a working condition, being able to predict your life, and it's all about control. So yeah, that is an interesting story.
Yeah, this is the focus. I guess we hadn't looked at it that way, that AI, because we look at it like, oh, the robots are coming and they're just going to take over all the jobs. Which I mean, even a job,
which is true.
I think the story. Which is true, but I mean, we're not there yet. We will be, but not yet. However, I sent you the story and I forgot to follow up on it. There is some sort of like a 7-Eleven type store or something, like a small convenience store, that has no cashier at the counter. Rather, it's a live person in the Philippines on a screen.
That's like those Amazon stores that like ended up, I guess they gave up that experiment, right? But
yeah, they shuttered the Amazon store here, but they had real
they were never really clear on why they did that. you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Amazon said that they decided they wanted to shift back to their non-brick and mortar historically that's what they are, what they do,
Hmm.
that they decided they just wanted to go in a different direction suddenly at the new year. So that was it. But there's like these small chain, I don't know what they are, I guess kind of a convenience store in Manhattan, is that instead of paying whatever the minimum, what's the minimum wage there in Manhattan? Like $15, $17, something like
It's
that.
I think it's 17 now.
Yeah. So they don't want to pay that. So what they're doing is everything else is AI, like at the store. And then if you have an issue doing your own self checkout, the manager that pops up or the cashier that would pop up is on a screen, and you'll just have to wait for her because, you know, Lulu or whatever, whoever she is in the Philippines is managing 5 of these little bodegas or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
she'll pop up whenever you have a problem. So because she in the Philippines won't need to make the $17 an hour minimum wage loophole.
No, she's psyched if she makes 7.
Yeah. So that's apparently that's going that way too for now until AI becomes sentient and then kills us all.
True.
I think that's where we're going.
Lovely.
So there you are.
Fan fucking tastic.
There's the future. All right, back to the state I presently live in. There's a quiet, people may have heard. We got Abigail Spanberger, the former spook, as a governor. She's less than 100 days into office, and she has just quietly given away voters' consent in national elections. Here's what I mean. Virginia has taken a step that could reshape how presidential elections function in the United States, though not immediately and not on its own, but it will later this year. With the signing of House Bill 965 by Abigail Spanberger earlier this week, the state has officially joined the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. The law, set to take effect this July, commits Virginia's 13 electoral votes to the winner of the national popular vote rather than the candidate who wins the state itself. This is talking about presidential elections. On its face, the change appears straightforward. In practice, it represents a significant shift in how states can choose to participate in the Electoral College without eliminating the Electoral College. The key detail is timing. The compact does not activate unless states representing at least 270 electoral votes, the number required to win the presidential election, unless they all join in. So with Virginia's entry, the total now stands at 222 electoral votes, meaning the system remains dormant. So it doesn't trigger. They need roughly 48 more. Is that the right number? Math? Yeah. 48 more. So it could be a mishmash of different states to equal 48 more electorals. Then it would trigger this pact. It's like a fucking suicide pact. Until the threshold gets reached, Virginia,
or not necessarily a suicide pact. I mean, we'll talk about it.
Virginia will continue awarding its electoral votes under the current winner-take-all system. What makes this legally viable is rooted in the Constitution itself. Article 2, Section 1 grants state legislatures broad authority to determine how their electors are appointed. Over time, that authority has allowed for a range of systems from statewide winner-take-all approach to the district-based allocation used by Maine and Nebraska. Joining an interstate compact, while less traditional, still falls within that same constitutional flexibility that grants states powers. Courts, including the Supreme Court, have consistently recognized this authority as expansive subject only to other constitutional limits. And as a result, Virginia's decision is not a structural change to the Electoral College, but rather a policy choice about how to direct its participation within it. That distinction is central to this broader debate. Supporters of the compact argue that it offers a way to align presidential outcomes more closely with the national popular vote, particularly in elections where the Electoral College result diverges from the overall vote count. They frame it as a modernization of the system, one that preserves the constitutional framework while adjusting how states exercise their discretion. Critics, however, see it differently. They argue the Electoral College was designed as a federalist mechanism, giving states, not just the aggregate population, a defined role in selecting president. From this perspective, allocating electoral votes based on a national total could dilute the state-based structure, effectively shifting influence toward larger population centers. I veer on this side here. And I would imagine Robbie has opinions on this. There are also practical considerations. Because the compact only activates once the 270 threshold is met, its implementation would occur suddenly, potentially changing the rules of presidential elections in a single cycle. Additionally, while the compact allows states to withdraw, it includes restrictions on doing so to an election, raising questions about stability and predictability in high-stakes political environments. For now, Virginia's move is best understood as part of a broader trend rather than a decisive turning point. So I think Robbie probably has a lot to say about that because he's big on states' rights. What say you on this, Robbie?
Well, it's a repudiation of the Great Compromise, because when the whole reason that we have the Constitution that we have now is because the Articles of Confederation are too weak. Like the central government couldn't tax. There was a whole lot it could do. I think it was probably actually a better system than what we've got now. The problem is, though, is that at the time, people need to realize the United States was set up as a federation of sovereign and independent states. That's why each state has its own constitution. Basically, they were their own independent nations working together in the federal union.
Right.
The compromise was that the House of Representatives would be proportioned by population, and the Senate would have two senators appointed by the legislatures of the state. That was the compromise. That's the whole reason that the United States
and that the number of electoral votes for each state is the sum total of the number of House members and senators.
Yep, exactly. And because the People's House of Representatives was considered the weaker of the two houses, that's why they were given the power of the purse. Like spending bills are supposed to always originate from the House of Representatives. That doesn't happen anymore, but that's what's supposed to have happened. So and the reason why the founders did that is because pure democracies simply never work. They always go oligarchical. They always just go full tyrant because there's no protection for the minority. And so if we do this, if we abolish the Electoral College, at that point, you're saying the United States is no longer a republic the way that it was founded. Instead, it's something more like a Commonwealth nation.
Well, it's changed in a lot of respects in terms of the balance of power since
the Electoral College.
89. But I was going to say, so in terms of I think the key word, Robbie, that you mentioned is the word minority, right? So the assumption in the way the Electoral College was configured was that smaller population rural states were the minority that would be underrepresented. But now, I'm not sure if Americans think of themselves as, for example, a citizen of Utah, as much as the division is really between Democrats and Republicans. So it's really between coastal versus inland. It's rural versus it's urban versus rural. Mm-hmm. And I think so that's within states, right? So sure. In that sense, I think, like, for example, people who live in the population centers have a credible argument to be made that their votes are diluted by the Electoral College and that they are underrepresented vis-a-vis people people who live in Rhode Island or who live in Nebraska are being overrepresented for their votes vis-a-vis people who live in California or New York.
Because they are.
Right.
That is 100% accurate. And I say, thank God. I mean, seriously, would you want the entire United States, the system of our country, to be represented and dictated by California,
Right,
New York City, and Florida? Because that is effectively what you would have. The other,
Right.
nothing else would matter.
But what you've got now is when the three of us, even the youngest of us, was a kid, there hadn't been many elections where the president won without winning a majority of the popular vote. But that's starting to happen more and more now. Yep. And it's I don't know. I mean, I don't think I think an American is an American, whether that American lives in Maine or in Montana, or Hawaii. And it's like all those votes should count equally. I don't see what's terribly wrong about, Floridians. I mean, the only thing I do kind of hate about this is that presidential candidates don't feel any need whatsoever to campaign in, small states or really rural areas because they feel like there's not enough votes there. And that's wrong. Yeah.
But I mean, that's the system. And if you abolish the Electoral College, you just get but spades. Now, I agree with you. The mindset of the American people has completely changed. Like before 1860, there was no such thing as a citizen of the United States. You're a citizen of your state. Like you're a citizen of Virginia or of Rhode Island or Maine or Tennessee or whatever. But there was no such thing as a American citizen. That's why when the War of Northern Aggression starts, that's why it was such a fierce thing, because from the Southern perspective, we are being invaded by a foreign force that is coming to destroy what was set up in the Constitutional Convention, and they were right.
Right, it's an occupying force.
Yeah. Now the other thing is that it is also worth noting that the United States is very unusual. Almost no other country in the world has an electoral college. So like, is there anything unique? I mean, look, Germany, like Italy, France, Germany and Italy in particular, were set up in much the same way as federations of independent provinces or states, right? And yet they don't have an electoral college.
No, that's true. But it's also, they don't have the frontier mindset that the Americans have. I mean, you got to remember, in addition to America's always been a frontier-based nation, even from the very beginning with the 13 colonies. You had a frontier, and you just kept pushing west, and you have Manifest Destiny. You have that whole history. You have that whole culture. Now, as that's diluted through immigration and people just forgetting their roots and their history, then it matters less and less. I think that's a bad thing. I think that we're losing what makes Americans unique. The problem is that I don't think that Americans even really care anymore. I think that Americans are checked out. I think that corporately we're kind of like eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. And it's a terrible place to be.
Yeah. I think we all agreed that the Republic died many, many years ago.
It died on April 9th, 1865. That's when the Republic died. No, I'm dead serious. That is when federalism died.
We're just realizing it now as we come up on birthday 250. So, Ted, I say we punt on this last weird story.
Yeah, we can do it tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll add it for Friday. I want to try something different for tomorrow, by the way, because there are so many great sound bites from social media and so many things I want to share. What do you say tomorrow we do like a whole bunch of little clips, and then we could talk about those instead of doing the news story itself?
Works for me.
Play the social media clips, get some laughs for a fun Friday, and watch
those copyrights. Okay.
No, they're on social media, so they're
all right.
Yeah, so it's fair game. So no DMZ today. Robbie, are you streaming? Any housekeeping we got to do?
I was going to, but I've got to call another client, so
okay,
that's being postponed. We got to try to get our Rumble Premium restored. That's still a pain in every backside.
Okay, so well, that's that. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you for Fun Friday tomorrow. We're going to do a new format or try out a new thing with a bunch of sound bites on social media because there's too much good stuff on social media right now. Have a good Thursday, everybody. Bye. Thank you.